Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's a girl, Dr. Roni, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with us how I created this bubble dress. So if you want to see how I did it from start to finish, definitely keep on watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave me a comment. So guys, for this tutorial, this is what we are going to be using. What I have here is a jam-pad fabric. This is 2 trousers. That's the yards I'm having here. This is 2 trousers for the jam-pad fabric, normal school uniform fabric, and it doesn't have any stretch to it. So this is just normal jam-pad fabric. This is a cotton lining. Now this my cotton lining now is 1.5 yards I'm going to use. Reason being that it is actually longer than by 60. No, most of the times these cotton linings are always by 60, so mine is a bit longer than by 60, so that's why I'm using this. So if your own cotton lining is not up to or is not above by 60, then you can always use 2 yards, or you can always use the same yard depending on how you would know how to manage it. Then you also need your ruler, your tape, your chalk, and also your scissors. So this is what you're going to be needing for this tutorial. So now it's time for us to cut out the blouse area. Now let's use this paper as an illustration so that you'll not be confused with what is here. Now this is like the 2 trousers. Now from here, now this is where you measure the 2 trousers. Your 1 yard, your 2 yard is this area, while this now is the length. Okay, by 60 by 45 is this area. Now for what I have here, I'm not going to fold it the way it's supposed to be, like this. Do you understand? I'm not folding. What is here now is not like this. What I have here is I folded it this way. This is what is here. So me folding it this way now, since this is 2 trousers, that's 2.5 yards. I'm trying to see how I can make this to be enough for whatever it is we are going to make. So that's why I'm folding it this way. So I'm going to use this other part and then cut out the top part, while I can now try to use the other part now to cut down cut the lower part. But I'm going to fold this into 4. What is here now is 4. This is 2, 3, and this is 4 because this is unfold. Okay, so that's what I have here now. Now if you're someone that is actually on the plus side, what you're going to do is you're not going to fold your fabric like this. If you fold it like this, it's not going to be enough for you. So instead of getting 2 trousers, you can get up to 3 trousers or probably 4 depending on the size, and you will end up folding it this way. Okay, you end up folding it towards this side, so I can be able to use enough yard as you would want. I don't know if you understand. And you have to fold it into 4, so don't forget. So that's what this is all about now. So what I have here, after folding it down like this, the center front and the center back is here, while this is towards the armhole and also the side. So from here now, we are going to mark 1 inch or ½ inch rather. Let's mark ½ inch from this point down. So now this is going to be our starting point. So what I'm going to do now is to mark down my ½ inch. So my ½ inch from the top here is 16 inches. So this is 16 inches for me now as my half length. So I'm going to mark 16.5 inches for sewing allowance. Then I'll just draw the line and connect them together. So now what I'm going to do now is just to go ahead and cut it out. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut out the back parts first before we can cut the front. So mind you, this is still on fold. So I'm going to come here and mark down 1 inch for the back. This is 1 inch. Then I'm going to mark 3 inches here for the neckline of the back. So I'm going to try and connect these together. The next thing I'm going to mark out is the shoulder. So the shoulder I'm using here is 30 inches. That's the shoulder I'm using. So that 30 now divided by 2 is going to give me 15. So from this point, I'm going to mark down here. So this is like almost 15 inches, which is still okay. So even if I end up using 14, it is still fine. It's still okay. So this is where my shoulder is going to stop. So I'm just going to mark it directly at 14. Then from this 14 inches now, I'm going to come down here by 1 inch. Then I'm going to connect from this point to this point. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark out the armhole. So the armhole is going to start from here down. So now for the armhole, I am taking 16 inches for the armhole. So if you are plus size, depending on how you want to take it, you can always wrap the tape around your hand and then try to increase it to the size that you would want so that you can be comfortable with the style. So for me, I'm using 16 inches, as you can see on the screen. Then I'm going to, from this point, dividing that 16 inches now into 2. I'm going to be having 8 inches. So from this point, I'm going to mark from this point to here. This is now my 8 inches. The next thing we are going to do is to mark out the waistline. So don't forget this, we still come back to this. So for the waistline now, this was going to happen. So for the waistline, you know, we are going to insert an elastic on the waistline. So what I'm going to do is this. My normal waist measurement is 28 inches. So I'm going to be adding 6 inches to that 28 inches, and it's going to be giving me 34 inches. So I'm going to divide that 34 inches now by 4. So that's what I'm going to mark out here. Okay, so that remaining space is for us to use and insert our elastic. So the 34 inches now divided by 4 is going to give us 8.5 inches. So from the center front here, I'm going to be marking 8.5 inches at this point. So the next thing I'm going to do is to connect this point over here. So this is how it's going to look like. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and then add 1 inch seam allowance to this place. So also on the shoulder, I'm also going to add ½ inch seam allowance on top here, just half from this place. That was the reason why we left this. Okay, so that from here now we can be able to add our ½ inch seam allowance, be able to have what to use and close up the shoulder point. That was why we left this ½ inch or 1 inch seam here. So I'm going to mark out the ½ inch all the way to this point, and I'm going to connect them together. So the next thing we are going to do is to cut it out. Now once I get here, I'm not going to cut it, I'm just going to open this place up. Then what I'm going to do next is just to cut this place from the 1 inch that we left here. We'll just cut it out, the ½ inch rather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove one of these out, because this is like the back now. So I'll take this out. Then we are going to come and then cut out, finish up with the front part. So already our shoulder slope is there, our armhole, everything is all right. Now the next thing we are going to do is just to look at how we are going to work with the front part. So for the front, I'm going to place my ruler like this. Okay, then we'll now from this point now, we're going to rule a very straight line down to this area. So you have to place it in such a way that it's going to fit in very well. Okay, so if you're using a jam-pad fabric like this, it's always advisable to get a lining for it so that you can line it and it will come out looking very beautiful. Because if you sew it like that, it might just look somehow, but it should still be okay, but it should be somehow. So if you're using jam-pad like this, also try and get a lining for it. So this was going to look like. So I'm just going to cut it out on this point. Okay, then that is it for the front. So if you have a lining, if you line it, you can always use just ½ inch to be able to line it out. But if you don't have lining, you can always use bias to fold it in. Because if you fold this in the way it is like this again, since there is no ½ inch for seam allowance, it's going to make it a bit smaller. Okay, so to make it more open in front. So I'm just going to cut it open like this. So this is how the front is going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead to cut out my lining for both the front and the back. So for the down part, here is what I'm going to do. So we're going to cut out full flare for this very one now. Okay, now cutting out the full flare, we're going to fold it like this into 2. Then we'll fold it again into 4. This is now the full, folding it into 4 now will give us the full flare. Okay, so this is now the length of the flare. All right, this place now is the length of the flare. So from this point now, you're going to mark down to where the waist is going to be, which is towards somewhere here. Okay, then from here now is where you're going to start to mark out the length for your outfit. Okay, so you now mark out the length, then you now cut it out from here. This is the waist and this is the length of the skirt. So that's what I'm going to do with this. So I have to show you a illustration so you won't be confused. I finished folding the flare part. So we'll have 1, 2, 3. Now this 3 now is double. Okay, so with this now, I didn't fold it directly to the end. Let me show you guys. I didn't fold it to the end. So if you look, you see that there is still some allowance left here. I didn't fold it to the end when I was folding the fabric. Now this one that is left here now is what I'm going to use for the sleeve, the puff area of the sleeve. So they want to finish it up. That's why I had to leave that side out. So we're going to be concentrating on this area now. Okay, what is here? So the waist measurement that we used was 34. So now that 34 inches, now I'm going to be dividing that 34 inches by 8. So dividing it by 8 is, look at this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then we have 6, 7 here, then we have 8 at the end. That's why I want to divide it by 8. This is our 4 inches now, but I'm not going to take the 4 inches. I'm going to come down and take 5 or 5.5 inches here, so we can have some sewing allowance. So just mark that out. Now from that point now, we are going to mark out the length of the flare. So for me, from here, the length I'm going to be using for the skirt is going to be 22 inches. So from this point, I'm going to be marking 22 here. This part now is what's going to tell you the length of the skirt. So I'm going to place my tape from this point down to this area here. So this is 22 inches, but I'm going to be taking 23. So that I can use ½ inch to join this to the waist and also to hem around the last area here, the hem line. So from here, I'm going to be marking 23 inches. This is 23. So mark 23 inches here. So I will still hold it here at the center while moving it around. I'm just going to connect these together. Then I'll go ahead and then cut it out here and also cut it out on this area too. So for a lining, here is how I'm going to cut the lining. For lining now, instead of folding it the way we folded the main one, which was like this and like this, it should give us a full flare. This is what's going to help us have that puff. So what we are going to do is to reduce the flare on this one. So reducing the flare on this one now is like this now. This is like the main fabric. So what you're going to do is just to fold it one time like this. Okay, you can only fold it one time like this, either to the end. Sorry, you can just fold it one time like this. This is what you're going to do. Now from here, now you're going to measure out your waist and also your length with this. Not 4, but just 2 like this. So this will now be okay. But then while cutting it out like that, the length, okay, the length of the lining should be shorter. So you can take 2 inch shorter from what we had on the main fabric, so that once you join this one now, the lining to the main fabric, you can now push it up. It will now form that bubble under. So you're going to be taking 2 inch away from the length, 2 inch away from the length of the lining. And coming to the waistline, for the waistline now, we are going to be dividing what we have on the waistline by 2. Okay, since this is 1 and this is 2, so we're going to be dividing whatever it is. So since me, I actually had 34, so I'm going to divide 34 inches by 2. So that's what I'm going to mark out here. So this is the lining. So I folded it into 2, like I said. Okay, so now I'm going to mark out my 34 inches divided by 2 is going to give me 17 inches. So from this point now, this is 17 inches here. Okay, so instead of marking it directly here, I'm going to come down so that I can take 17.5 or rather 18 inches. So that's what I'm going to mark out here. So I'm just going to cut out this part. Then I'm going to measure out the length for the lining, subtracting 2 inches from the down part. That's what I'm going to do. So let's start sewing the upper part first, so that we can be able to cut out the hand. So now for the upper part, this I've gone ahead to cut out my lining for the both sides of the front. So what I'm going to do is this. So this is the lining and this is one side of the front. So I'm going to sew from this place down using 1/4 inch. So I'll do it for the both sides. Now that's for the front. For the back, I'm going to open it up like this. Okay, then we are going to use a lining now to turn the neckline around. So I'm going to sew around the neckline using a 1/4 inch. After turning the neckline like this and then flipping it over, don't forget to notch at the back. Let me show you. Don't forget to add notches, which is this stuff, okay, at the back, so it can come out looking smooth, and it can also come out looking very well like this, well arranged. So don't forget to iron this. So after turning it around like this, you have to come over to the armhole area, then try to align this together, and then you sew a straight line. This is to be able to secure both the main fabric and the lining pieces together. Okay, that's why we are sewing down that particular line. But be sure to turn this one out first. It should look like this before you sew that part down. So you also do the same thing to the front. Okay, so this is the back, and I've finished ironing the neckline down. So it's looking very neat both on the inside and also outside. So what we're going to do is to bring in the front part like this, and I've also ironed this one too. So bring in the front part on both sides, then we just sew the shoulder using the 1/2 inch that we inserted down. After opening it and then iron it out, we are going to be inserting elastic here. So with this now, if you're using a lighter fabric like this, please you can use a white elastic. Okay, so if you don't have, you can use what you have, but white elastic is very much ideal. So at this point now, I'm going to be using my own black elastic. So what I have here for the shoulder, let me measure this out. What I have here is 8.5 inches for this very elastic. So I didn't have any elastic, so I had to use my big elastic and then cut the both sides out. That's why the elastic is looking like this. Okay, so what you're going to do is this. You're going to place this elastic at this point, okay, just before the neckline. It shouldn't get to the neckline. So just going to place it here. Then you're going to sew it. Make sure to sew at the center, okay. So in as much as you're sewing, you have to drag it to the end. I didn't want to make it so much, but then if your fabric is not with lining, this will really twist it in very well, okay. Or you can decide to go with 8 inches for the elastic. So for me now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this out like this. Then I'm going to sew it down using a very straight line so that it corresponds with this. Then once you allow it, it's going to twist in. So we'll do the same thing for this side and also for this other side. So once you're done putting the elastic, this is how it's going to look like. So you see the shoulder is going to be looking like this, a little bit puffy, okay. So now the next thing I'm going to do now is quite optional. So if you want the front of your own to look like the way it is on the picture, you can leave it like this, okay. But if you don't want it to be too open the way it is, then you can also do it the way I'm going to be doing mine. So I'm going to be using this. Now you can get this in a pink color. It's actually optional. So I just prefer using a white to just give a little bit of contrast to the center. But you can get this in this color, okay. But it's actually rare to find it in this color. That's why I opted out for white. So what's going to happen is this a fancy trimming. As for most of us, we know this thing. So this is how it's looking like. So like this now, I'm going to cut a little bit of it. I'm going to cut small, just very small of this now, from somewhere here. Then I'm going to fold it like this, okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reopen up this place again. Then I'm going to fit this inside. Now I'm going to be using this still as the rope so that I can pass it through and then drag it down. So wherever it is you want it to start from, make sure you measure from the neckline down to where you want yours to start from. Then from there you can now start inserting this down to the end. So guys, this is how it's looking like after I finish inserting my own loops. So this is the best I could do. It still came out looking a bit big, but then it's still okay. So we are still going to be using the same thing now to form the rope. So it's just very simple. We just draw it out and then cut it and then just use it to loop all this around. So the next thing we're going to do now is to measure around here and then try to prepare the hand. So for the arm, let's measure around this area. So for this area here, for me, I have 18 inches here. So what I'm going to be cutting out for it, I'm going to be cutting 22 inches, so I can be able to at least pick put some gathers on it to be able to, you know, puff this area up small. But then the down part, I'm still going to show you how I'm going to cut it. So this is down the remaining part of my fabric. So I'm supposed to be cutting out a flare for this, but since my fabric is not enough, this is on fold now. Okay, so remember we said 22 inches, so this is 22 inches now. From the beginning to the end here is 22 inches. So what's going to happen is I'm going to fold this over again into 4. Now that 22 inches now divided by 2 is going to be 11. So I'm going to be marking out 11 inches here now. So this is our 11 inches. There's no seam allowance in this yet for now. So let's measure out the length of the sleeve. So for me, I'm going to be using 10 inches for the length of the sleeve. But then I'll proceed in taking 11 inch so that I can use ½ inch to fold this in and also to join this to the shoulder. So this is like the 11 inch now. Let me draw a line and connect this and also connect this together. So from here now, what's going to happen is this. From here, I'm going to mark out 2 inches here. This is the down part. Okay, that's towards this other area. Now is this part here. If your fabric is enough, you can always cut out the flare the way we did the down part. But now since mine is not that enough for me to use like that, so I'm going to be cutting out straight. So what I'm going to do here is just going to help me with a little bit of puff on the down part. Okay, so I'm going to be using 2.5 inches here so I can have what to use and close. So just mark 2.5 inch here. So from this down, I'm not going to connect it to this point. Let's mark out ½ inch here, which is our sewing allowance. The next thing is for us to go ahead and then cut it out from this area. Okay, so this is the lining for the main fabric. So on this lining now, if I measure this out, this is 18 inches here, which is where the armhole is. Okay, now this is the down part that's going to accommodate this other side. Now if you look, here and here is not together. That's because I've taken out the 2 inches from the down part of the lining. Now this is what you're going to do. You're going to fold it over like this. Okay, so now remember that we added 2 inches here. So what's going to happen is that we are going to take out from this other end. We're going to take out the 2 inches from this place, and we are going to draw the line down to here. So this is how it's looking like now after I must have cut it out. So remember that this is the armhole area. So if my chalk, I'm just going to do this, so I will not forget. So this is going to help me while making this. So the next thing we're going to do now is to prepare the sleeves. So this is the lining and this is the main fabric. Now what I'm going to do is to go ahead and then insert gathers at this area, okay, from beginning to the end. Then I'm also going to insert gathers here. Now whatever it is I'm doing, I must make sure that this aligns with the length of the lining and also aligns with the armhole of the lining, okay, so that once you are done, this can now give you the puff that you're looking for. So that's what I'm going to do now. After inserting your gathers, it is going to look like this. So this is the up part and this is the other side. Now I've gone ahead to sew it down together with the lining. Okay, so if you can understand, this is the armhole area and that's the down part. So once you're done sewing it down like this together, what you're going to do is to turn it like this. Okay, now once you turn it over, you can now come and place this one here and then sew this one down just to attach this one. Okay, just so that this one now and this one can stay together, they can stay firm. So this is how the down part is going to look like once you are done attaching these two together. The down part will then be looking like this. So once I am done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the armhole area, which is this side. So don't forget, this is the down part, this is the armhole area. So I'm going to place it here like this on the shoulder. Then we are going to just use the 1/2 inch and then just stitch it down. Do the same thing on both sides. Now we are done with the top. So this is how it's looking like so far. It's already coming together. Okay, it's already coming together. So now we are going to move ahead and then look at how you're going to prepare the down part. So this is the skirt now. So the same thing that we did for the arm, for the sleeves, is what we're going to be doing for this. So we're going to insert gathers at this other side. Okay, then you're also going to try to match it up with what we have here. So you're going to measure around the down parts of your lining. Whatever it is that you have here, make sure that once you insert your gathers and then you pull it, you try to measure it up to what is here, so you can go ahead and then sew it down together at this other side. Now if you notice that this other side too is also a bit bigger than what is here, what you're going to do just to insert a little bit of gathers, that's going to take care of that, so to make it normalize with what is here. Now what I'm going to do now is this. I'm going to open up one of these flare. Okay, I'm going to open up the side. Now this is actually optional. If you don't want to open yours, fine, but for this tutorial I'm going to open this. You soon see why I did this. So I'm going to go ahead and then cut this part open. So I'm going to start inserting the gathers on the down parts now. Okay guys, so this is the skirt. Now I am done with the gathers on the down part. I also attached it to the lining, then I flip it out just like how we did the sleeve. Then I have sewed it down here. I attached small gathers to the waistline so they can be able to fit into what we had on the lining. So I've also gone ahead to join the lining and also the main fabric together. So now we are going to try to join this down to the upper part of the gown. So this is the blouse. Now I'm going to turn it over towards the wrong side, that's towards this other side. Then I'm only going to close down on one side using the inch that we inserted. They had the sewing allowance. We are only going to close down on one side. So after I finish closing this part, now what I'm going to do is this. Let me open this up. I'm going to open this place up. So like what I tied here. So I'm going to hold this place together like this. Okay, I don't know if you're seeing, but I'm going to hold this place together like this. Then I'm going to sew it down to where this thing has started from. Okay, I'm going to sew it from this place down to where this thing started from. So after sewing that place together, this is how it's going to look like when you turn it over. Okay, after sewing that point together, it's going to look like this. Now here's what you're going to do. You're going to fold it together like this into two. You're going to bring in the skirt area. Also on the skirt area too, we are also going to fold it into two. Then we must make sure that the waistline is actually aligning with what we have on the top. Okay, so this now has to align with what we have here. Now the next thing you're going to do is to pick one end and one end of this one, okay, which in this case I think is this other side. Then we are going to place it here. Okay, then we'll attach the skirt now to the main bodice. The skirt to this one. We're just going to go ahead and then sew around this. So if you notice that we haven't put waistband on this, after attaching this, then we'll now come back and then do something for the waistband. Okay, so for the waistband, I went ahead and measured around my waist measurement, including the back. Now this is what I have here, and I actually had to cut this out. So after cutting it out, I had to fold it over and then iron it in. Now what we have here is 1.5 inch. Okay, so that means what I had in total was 3 inches. So I took 1/2 inch here and 1/2 inch here. So what's remaining now is 1.5 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it. Okay, I mean, this was the best way I could come up with for the waistband. Okay, because I didn't want it to look somehow. But if you have any other way of placing the waistband, you can always go ahead and do that. Okay, so for me, this was how I want to place the waistband. So just place it on top here, and I also arrange this side very well, because what I'm going to do now is just to go ahead and then top stitch on top of this place around, and I'll also sew from here to down on top of the gathers too around. So try and arrange this part well so that once you sew it, it will stay properly the way it should. It won't even look like it was placed on top. So that is just it. So that's what I'm going to go ahead to do now. So after putting it, this is how it's looking like. As you can see, it's looking really neat and nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is this. If you have an overlocking machine, you can always overlock this at once so that the inside can also look neat. So we are going to feed in our elastic on the inside. That's towards this part now. That's what we are going to do. From this space, we're going to feed in the elastic around it. So before you feed in the elastic, be sure that you measure the elastic around your waist, and then the elastic holds you on the waist very well. Then you cut it from that point. That's what you're going to use to feed in around the waist here. Now once you're done doing that, you're going to close up the side seams, and then your gown is ready. So that's it for this tutorial, guys. Please, if you like this tutorial, please share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet, give us a thumbs up, and then let us know your thoughts about these outfits in the comment section. If you're going to recreate it, please tag me on either Instagram at RONISHIET or on TikTok at RONISHIET so that I will see your creation. Thank you guys for always supporting us, and please don't forget to watch our ads just to help support the channel also. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.